This is the Spritz Girl Mindset Podcast, and I'm your host, Courtney Young. If girlhood is a mindset, this is where we practice it out loud and unfiltered. We're healing, we're yapping, and we're doing it with spritzes in hand. Here's your permission slip to be soft, messy, and magnetic as hell. So grab a spritz, grab a seat, no small talk, just the real stuff. Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. I'm really excited to share today's conversations with you. It's one that brings together so many pieces of what we talk about here: healing, mindset, and living in alignment. My guest is Umeko Laird, a mindset and manifestation coach whose approach to transformation is deeply holistic. She holds 3 coaching certifications: holistic life coaching, law of attraction coaching, and inspired spirit coaching. And she's also a certified mind-body practitioner with a focus on emotional processing and nervous system regulation. But what I love about Umeko is how she weaves together all of these modalities, like yoga, herbalism, shamanism, and Reiki, to create a really grounded and intuitive way of supporting growth and change. She's not about bypassing the hard stuff. She's about moving through it with honesty, intention, and care. This episode is full of real talk about what it means to truly shift your mindset, regulate your body, and actually manifest a life that feels good from the inside out. Hi, Mika. Welcome. I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you so much. I'm super happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh. I cannot wait for the conversation that we're about to get into today because I feel like we've low-key been besties for like weeks.
Yeah, pretty much.
I want to go ahead and start by just telling me a little bit, or the audience a little bit, about yourself and who you are and what you do.
Sure. So my name is Umeko. I am from Nova Scotia, Canada, and I grew up in a tiny community of 200 people. And I am a mindset and manifestation coach. And yeah, that's kind of my overall situation.
So exciting. Do you like living in Nova Scotia?
I do. It's probably not for everybody. There's not a whole lot to do through wintertime, so you have to be a little creative and keeping yourself entertained throughout the winter. But I grew up here, so I'm totally used to it.
Oh my gosh, I imagine, does it get like super cold in the winter and everything too?
Yeah, we get a fair amount of snow, not as much as when I was a kid. When I was a kid, we got a lot of snow. Oh my gosh, yeah. But now it's definitely not quite the same, but it still gets cold.
So I'm in Orlando, so we're like the opposite. It's always hot here all the time. So I think I've seen snow like a total of once in my life.
Wow, that is like so crazy to me.
Yeah, all right. Well, let's go ahead and get right into it. Today, our theme is going to be embracing a multi-passionate identity, mindset work, and how manifestation can help women step into their power. So I'm so excited to get into all of this with you. I do want to go ahead and start with the idea of girlhood, growth, getting started, all of those good things. So you've worn a lot of hats throughout your life. So can you just take me through a few of those chapters and tell me and the audience a little bit about what that was like?
Yeah, absolutely. So after I graduated from high school, I moved to the opposite side of Canada. I moved to Vancouver, and there I went to school for special effects makeup, and I worked in the film industry for a little bit. And realized very quickly that it was not what I wanted to do at all. And while I was there, I ended up doing like so many weird random jobs. You know, I did like a little bit of working in the film industry as a background actor, which was like a hilarious job in its own, but you meet some interesting people there. I did a bit of modeling. I ended up being the manager of like a children's spa, and I taught yoga. I worked in a clothing shop, and I became the school that I graduated from. I became the special effects teacher's assistant. So I helped the students build their prosthetic pieces for the monsters that they were going to make for their finals and that kind of stuff.
That is sick.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. And then I moved back to Nova Scotia. Because I was dying in the city. I could not do city life. I will never live in a city again. They're fun to visit, but I cannot. I ended up kind of like doing a total 180, and I started learning all these different healing modalities. So I started studying herbalism. I studied herbalism for 2 years, and then I got my level 2 Reiki practitioner certificate. I did a shamanic practitioner course. And yeah, now I'm doing my coaching. Oh, and I'm a tattoo artist as well.
Oh my gosh. I struggled with meditation, meaning, and I still like, I don't really tap into that very much. I am not somebody who likes to sit still. I do not like to sit in silence. It is very uncomfortable for me. We do have a lot in common when it comes to the different career paths as well. I love that you did special effects. I actually did theater for a hot minute. Yeah, I did a lot of musical theater. I worked in the retail space as well. Right now I'm a salon manager, but I worked in jewelry previously. I was a youth director in the church. I was a director of community engagement in the church. So I've also just been all over the board when it comes to career. It's one of my favorite things about myself is I have all these odd skills that I never
Yes.
would have learned in any other way. But it is so random because people are like, well, where do you come from? And what do you do? And I'm like, well, I do this and this and this and this. So I love that.
It's so true. Yeah. As soon as I realized that, I'm like, you kind of go through it and then you pick out the things that like, I like this, but I don't like this. And then how else are you going to figure out the things that you like and don't like? You just got to try it.
Exactly. Yes. Was there ever a time where you kind of felt like that multi-passionate nature was like a bad thing?
I guess like there's moments that I'm like, oh, if I just had really, sunk into one thing, that I could be like a real master of something by this point. But honestly, not really. I love having change and so many different avenues to kind of pursue. And like I'm an artist as well. So like, and I love using all sorts of mediums. So like painting or drawing or tattooing or sculpting or jewelry making I did for a while. Yeah, I'm all about that multifaceted. Like, give me variety. Variety is the spice of life.
Yes. What drew you into coaching and how did you know it was the right fit for you?
Oh gosh. Okay. Where to begin with that? So I had actually planned on being a psychologist for probably about 6 years, but it just multiple things ended up transpiring that never really happened for me. And I just kind of let that dream go. And that was actually when tattooing sort of fell into my lap. So it was actually during COVID. I was a waitress at the time. And so obviously everything had gotten shut down and I didn't have anything really happening. And I just for kicks had done like stick and poke tattoos for a little while, just like randomly on friends here and there,
Wow.
but like nothing I was ever trying to do. Right. And so I ended up there was like an Amazon kit that popped up on my Facebook and it was like whole kit to start tattooing for like $100. And I was like, I have nothing else to do, so may as well see if it works. Right? I didn't know if I'd like it or not. So I like got fake skins to start practicing on. And then eventually I felt that I had practiced enough. So I was like, okay, I'd posted my progress as I went on Instagram and Facebook. And so I had some friends around and I was like, okay, the first 5 are free. Whoever wants to volunteer. Anyway, blast, they filled up like instantly, which was really cool. And then I literally haven't stopped ever since. And what I realized that transition was that my whole life, I had always was like, I wish that I could make money with art like consistently, because that is like such a hard thing to do. Right. And then the other thing was the psychology. And then it's so funny because being a tattoo artist, everybody always calls it ink therapy, right? Like they're just like, you always get into these incredible deep conversations with people because you're just there. It's a bit of an intimate situation. You're physically like touching them and well, hurting them. And, they're just, they just end up talking about so much. And anyway, so I was kind of like, oh, that's a really funny in between. And then what ended up happening was, so I loved tattooing and it was really great. So because of that, I live with a very, very skilled partner. And we ended up building this studio that I'm sitting in now. So like we cut the trees, milled the lumber, built the place, like the whole thing ourselves. Yeah. So, and then when we were building it, I had looked up what the regulations were for like what the standards that needed to happen. And we followed everything as we built it. But by the time it finished, because we built it ourselves, it took quite a long time. It was probably about a year and a half. By the time that we had finished it, new regulations had come out that we have to add an entire effing addition onto here in order to check off all of the things, which sucked. So it put me at a total like, what am I supposed to do now? Because now I can't tattoo. Yeah. And it like totally threw me through a loop because that's what I was doing full time. So it just put me in this weird like limbo moment of what the heck am I going to do? And I was feeling really lost at the time. And what ended up happening was I just sort of took this little bit of time to kind of go inside into, my own mind and everything. And what I ended up doing was downloading Mind Valley, if you know that app.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so from there, I ended up going through some of the courses and stuff. And I was like, what is this job, this like coaching thing? Because everybody's kind of a coach on there, right? And I had never heard of this before. And so that's actually what transpired. And I was like, this is exactly what I wanted to do with the psychology. But like, this is so much better because it's like they're people taking responsibility for themselves rather than being fixed by somebody else because there's
Yes,
this weird perception around like therapists and psychologists that if you go there they're gonna fix you, and it's like,
right,
yeah, it's on you, it's still on
right.
you.
You still got into the work, babes. Like,
Yep,
yeah,
it's all you.
yeah.
So that's kind of the whole story. I know that was a bit long, but
No,
that's
I
kind of
loved it. That's so cool that you built that whole studio.
yeah, the additions are in the works, it's coming. Yes, the parts.
No, I'm right there with you. I always knew that college was not gonna be the right path for me. And I feel like I kind of grew up, I graduated in 2013. So I was very much like in the middle of that almost Gen Z, but still millennial generation.
Yes, absolutely.
So, what mindset shifts had to like shift for you to step into that new identity, to go from like the whole tattoo artist and then the thing with the addition on the house? Like, I imagine there was a big shift there that had to happen.
Absolutely. Everything totally went on halt for a hot minute and I felt very lost. I really didn't know what I was supposed to do, or, it felt like really unfair, and I felt really kind of jaded about the situation for a bit. And it was definitely a hurdle that of major growth moment for me, because it just, looking at it now, I realized that it was my launching point of this whole new business and career that never would have happened if that didn't happen. It forced me into that trajectory. And whenever we go through things like this, I find that afterwards, it's hard to see in the moment, of course, but if you can just keep moving through it and find the flow of whatever it is that life is trying to get you to find, in the end, after you look back and you're like, I see what you did there,
Yes.
universe. I see what you're doing
Yes.
there.
So, like I said, my background for a long time was in the church. I'm on a bit of a deconstruction journey. But one of the things that would be thrown around a lot when I was in the church was that phrase, everything happens for a reason. There is nothing
Mhm.
I hate more than that phrase. And the reason I hate that phrase is because I feel like it completely invalidates the emotions and feelings and experiences that we go through. For example, had built this whole idea around, I'm going to have this beautiful new studio, and then they changed everything on you. And I don't know about you, but I'm somebody like, I want to know the plan. I want to have it all laid out. My plan gets thrown out the window. I get real upset. But of what you just shared, and I do believe that anything and everything can be redeemed for good. And I
Mhm.
think that that's completely different because it's kind of tapping into what you're talking about. Like, that idea of the journey is so important and you can learn so much in it. And that doesn't mean that the things that you went through you were deserving of, but you're totally right. You can look back and see exactly what the universe was trying to do and how it can align with your story, with your goals, with the lessons you needed to learn along the way. I had chills when you were sharing that because I just love that so much. And I feel like we're so aligned there.
It's so true. And, it's funny because in the courses that I've been taking, I've had so much growth. This has been like the biggest growth years for me in things that I've been learning, and getting to coach others and see them grow and how beautiful and big of a difference you can make in other people's lives has been the most fulfilling. Like I can't even describe it really. But yeah, it's all just like, so, like you said, it's so aligned, and you don't even realize it at the time. And one of the things that I learned through one of my courses is that get excited when shit goes sideways and you are having a hard time and like things are not going well. Like, get excited because something big's about to happen for you. And it's so true. It can be hard in the moment, but it's so true. It's just, that's the whole slingshot getting ready. It's pulling you back and you're about to.
Are you into horoscopes and all of that at all?
Of course.
Okay. So I'm a Gemini sun, Cancer rising, Aries moon. Right in the middle of my Saturn return right now. It just started. That is really speaking to me because all of this stuff is going to be thrown at me. And my Saturn return is in Pisces. So it's a lot of my beliefs and like who I am and what my voice is and setting boundaries. It's like you're so right. Like it's just so interesting how the universe will just throw things at you and be like, all right, let's figure it out. Let's learn the lessons along the way.
100%. It's so true. And I mean, it would be rather boring without it. So
Absolutely. So, talk to me a little bit about your process when you're working with clients. How do you help them navigate their own personal growth? I'm so excited and intrigued.
yeah, absolutely. So I have a couple of different coaching certifications. So I'm a mind body practitioner. I have a holistic life coach course, and I have inspired spirit coach course and a law of attraction coaching course. And I also just finished emotional processing and nervous system regulation course.
Okay.
So what I love to do is that combination of the neuroscience, the factual, and the manifestation, bringing those together has been such a powerful combination because I love to take people to begin. The first few sessions that we do is where I inform them all about like the factual side. What's happening in your brain? What's happening in your body? When these motions are happening, this is what it actually is. Like this is the chemical reaction. These are the ways it's wired in there. And I go through all that so that then they can understand how incredibly powerful it is to do these manifestation processes and makes it way more sense. So there's this beautiful bridge between the science and the metaphysical. And it just seems to hit home for people so much harder, especially people who don't actually have a whole lot of knowledge around the metaphysical side. It brings that whole side of it in that they just are like, oh, even the people that I have who are spiritual, it's so funny when I take them through that first bit. And then I go, now, when you think about these affirmations or these practices, now look at it. And they're like, oh, okay. Like totally brings it to a different level for them, which is super cool. So that's what I love to do is that combination of the factual and then the metaphysical.
So cool. I've not heard of it being done like that. Like, how do those two things like kind of merge together?
Yeah, absolutely. So most of our belief systems are created by the time that we are 7 years old. So interestingly enough, the reason for that is that as children, we're actually operating at a different frequency. If you were to be hooked up to a machine that would trace your electrical waves or your vibration, when we're in regular day-to-day life, we're operating in what they call beta. And so this is just, what we're doing right now. Then we have the next one down is alpha. So that's when we're chilling. That's when we're like scrolling on the couch, looking through social media, which is also why it can be a little dangerous doing that unintentionally because we are actually at a deeper state of mind that's easier to program.
Oh,
Then we have theta. So that's when we are in deep meditation and you have that stillness, that calmness. So theta is actually where children are operating from at all times, which is why they are so imaginative and they always have imaginary friends and they have amazing ideas and they always think outside the box. It's because they're actually operating at that frequency at all times. That's why they're so impressionable. They're like a sponge, right? And they can learn things so fast. That's why. Right? So this is why we have most of our belief systems put in place by this point is because we're so impressionable. Now, unfortunately, as children, we aren't born with the ability to emotionally regulate. This is something we learn as we go. And so we operate from emotional brains rather than logical brains, basically meaning we take everything personally. And so the unfortunate part of that is that, when we have something that's not even traumatic, we can end up making assumptions from it that we think we can create terrible thought patterns and belief systems. Let's just say, for example, you are 5 years old, mom works shift work, so she's been gone all day, but she's going to get home soon, and you're so excited to see her. So she's about to arrive home. You drew her a beautiful picture, and she comes in, and you run up, and she gives you a hug. Pause on you for a moment. Mom, let's say she's a nurse, and she just worked a 12-hour shift, and she's exhausted, and she absolutely loves you, but she wants nothing more than to take her shoes off, have a shower, and go to bed. So unpause. You're giving her your hug, and she's like, she looks at your picture, and she's like, oh, that's really nice, honey, but, mom's going to go clean up, and then she's going to go to bed. She's very tired, and gently dismisses you. Now, from this completely innocent situation, we could take that and go, mom doesn't want to spend time with me. I'm not worthy of mom's time. Mom doesn't actually love me, right? And we can spiral it into wild ideas. And so if we take that as our belief system, even if there is like a haystack of things that have proven this wrong, but there's one needle in that haystack that proves that theory or idea right, that is what we will cling to because our brains, we love to be right? Even when it's a terrible reason to be right, and we'll hold on to that. And so we can end up creating all these awful belief systems that we then end up repeating to ourselves all through the rest of our childhood, teenagehood, and adulthood. And if we don't actually like stop to recognize them or try to uncover those, they can end up wreaking major havoc in our life down the road. So basically the idea is when they've discovered through neuroscience that, our brain is what they call plastic. So meaning it changes shape. So our brain is made up of millions of neurons, and between these neurons is these little neural pathways. And so if you think of each neuron as like a marble, basically. And so the pathways that are traveled most frequently are the ones that are strongest, of course. If you think of our brains love to automate things. So it wants to make things as easy as possible for us because we only have so much conscious energy to spend on things throughout the day. So it wants to automate as much as possible. So like when you first started driving and you were nervous, you had to pay attention to everything. It was like what button did what, and you had to remember what sign meant what, and you had to like, do all the things. And it was really like a lot. And now you can get in your car and just automatically do all the right things to get you to your destination safely, not even have to think about it, right? That's what our brain loves to do. So now thinking of the neural connections, the neural networks that are, to do that fire and wire with you driving your car, those are super strong. You don't even have to think about it. It just does it. So when we're trying to learn something new, like an instrument, and it's like awkward and weird, but the more that you do it, the easier it becomes. It's those connections becoming stronger and stronger.
Okay.
So when we have these belief systems that we have, been repeating to ourselves our entire lives, those are so strong. And what we have to start doing is choosing different pathways. And when we first start choosing the new pathway, when we realize that, we have like this pattern of like self-sabotage or procrastination, or, these are our natural tendencies, and we start choosing and going, you know what, I'm not going to do that now. I choose to, go to the path of self-love, of success, of, action, whatever it might be. At first, you're going to have a lot of resistance, right? You're going to feel a lot. Your brain's going to be like, what the heck, dude? We already have like a pathway for this. Like, why are you trying to go this way? But the more continuously, the more consistently that you take this new pathway, it becomes stronger and stronger. So what ends up happening is that the more that you take that path, each neuron only has, it's called neural growth factor. So on the outside of that marble, you can think of it as like a glue on the outside of it. And when we start choosing this new pathway, more of that glue is being taken away from the main pathway. So as this new pathway is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, this other one's actually shrinking until eventually you can literally rewire your brain to have this new pathway, this new pattern, which is amazing and so powerful. So this is kind of where it connects in with the metaphysical. When people start to realize that you do actually have this ability to literally change your brain. And so suddenly you realize that affirmations are actually insane because you are literally rewiring your brain for these, whatever it is that you're choosing, whether it be success or, doing whatever, self-love, all of that kind of stuff. And it's phenomenal. So that's kind of like the main real verging point of those two, the science and the metaphysical, that I love to share. Right?
Yeah. Like I'm mind blown. That is crazy. I love all of that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's super fascinating stuff. I geek out really hard over all of this.
Yeah, I would too. That's so fun. So let's talk like the practicality of that. Let's talk about like manifestation. Like what does that actually, taking all of that you just shared, what does that mean to you?
Yeah. So, gosh, well, I mean, manifestation, what does it mean to me? You can shape your entire life, when you actually take conscious control of your thoughts, because your thoughts are so important and so powerful, and people really, really don't quite understand to what degree, because we have our thoughts, which affect our emotions. And depending on how we're feeling, that affects our behavior. And depending on how we behave, that actually affects our belief systems. Because if you act a certain way, if you do something, your brain sees that, you see that, and you go, I just did that. So that means I am whatever it might be. So, and then your beliefs literally create your perception, which is how you perceive reality, right? And so if you trace that all the way back, it goes all the way back to your thoughts. You know, your thoughts are what create your entire reality. So when we are manifesting, you are taking conscious control over that, you know, that ability of thought. You know, you're taking control over your mind, and it's so, so powerful. And so many people don't really realize how incredibly important it is. The hardest part is probably uncovering those automatic thoughts that we have, you know, those very strong neural pathways that are automatically firing in situations that we don't even realize we're saying these things to ourselves, you know, and we so often repeat the same things to ourselves. Just to give you an idea of how frequently we say the same thing to ourselves, as a human, we have anywhere between 50 to 70,000 thoughts per day. And on average, about 95% of them are the same thoughts we had yesterday. Generally, about 80% of them are negative.
See,
Isn't that wild?
that's insane. And like hearing you say that, like, yeah, I can absolutely see a reality where if you're not consciously tapping into that, that is so true. So I lead, it's actually group coaching. I call them my spurts of connection groups. And they're small group coaching groups that, again, teach people how to lean into that authentic connection, find their people, find their aligned communities, and share their story. And the example I'm going to use is I had a client in one of my coaching groups the other day. One of the assignments that we do is called personal philosophy. So we were talking about like, what's your philosophy? What is that? All humans are looking to ask 3 questions in their lifetime. So what is your identity? Who is your community? And how do you become that person to fulfill that vision? Those are like the 3 questions I've found in my own research that humans are generally asking. And one of my clients was talking about his philosophy, and he said, you know, apparently I'm a good listener. And when I asked that question of like, well, who are you? So many of my clients will talk to me and say things like all the things they do for other people, or things like people tell me I am X. And the thing I always throw back is, okay, so you are saying that people have said you're a good listener, but do you believe you're a good listener? Like, and if not, why? Like, let's talk about that, because when you're taking who you are and you're only defining that by what literally everyone else has to say about you, that's not an accurate representation of who you are or who you're called to be. And what is the emotion, the feeling, the fear wrapped up in the middle of all that? Brene Brown, what is the shame monster there? And how do we like work through that?
Absolutely. It's so true. Some people are so unaware of the internal dialogues and what they actually, you know, tell themselves who they are. And it's, yeah, mind blowing.
Yeah. So what are some of the like tangible ways that you help clients tap into this kind of attentional mindset work?
Yeah. So, you know, of course, there's just like the classic like affirmations are so powerful, and it's always so fun co-creating things with clients in that kind of form. But it depends so much on, you know, the client. If they're like a visual or an auditory learner, like, you know, it's always good to kind of tap into that. So for people who are, you know, visual, it's always nice to have some of the things that I love to do is get them to write on sticky notes, like the affirmations, or, you know, if they've uncovered a negative belief system in themselves and they're trying to change it. I love sticky notes. I'm all about sticky notes. Like, stick those buggers everywhere, you know, anywhere that you see frequently, like all over the dash of your car, like everywhere. Look like a crazy person. I don't know. You know, and have these things stuck all over the place to help jog your memory and to remind you, you know, okay, every time I realize that I'm on this train of thought of like negative, whatever it is that person's dealing with, and I'm choosing to change it to this new positive belief, then that's one of the ways that can be really helpful. Then, of course, there's like vision boards, creating like an idea of what you actually want in life rather than, you know, just always focusing on like, I don't have this, I don't have that, whatever it might be. And then, you know, for people who are more auditory, it's really nice to do like guided meditations or like things that they can just like throw on in the background and not actually like pay attention to, but it's like affirmations to help them kind of reprogram their brain for whatever it is that they're trying to accomplish. I have like a whole bunch of different like little exercises just to deepen your self-inquiry and uncover your values and figure out where you're lacking in your life and where you're happy and what needs work.
Well, so as you were sharing about the sticky notes, I have right here my little goal board. And this
Love.
that I make for myself every single year with like my goals. And I have it right here so that when I'm sitting at my desk, I'm seeing it. And so now this has me being like, okay, well, what if we did like an affirmation bingo board? Like,
Yeah.
nice things I should be saying to myself instead of all the self-minimizing things I say to myself.
100%. Yes, we could all use that. We all need an affirmation board.
Make it cute, make it girly, make it fun, you know? Like even with this, with my goal board, at first I was like, oh, this is just like fun and it's cute, but like making it my own and kind of putting all the little pieces together and stuff and like making it very girly, I find myself looking at it very frequently, subconsciously all the time. And so I'm just kind of like, oh, well, maybe I'll switch it up and do an affirmations one. For the woman who's like listening, who's skeptical or unsure of where to start when it comes to manifestation, meditation, any of those kinds of things. I know we talked about some of these like small practical ideas, but what's your like favorite like one small practice that they could do, particularly for people who are like skeptical?
Something that I love that's a really enjoyable thing to get to do is actually doing like just a simple gratitude journal and literally just writing 3 to 5 things per day in the gratitude journal just to that helps you to just start shifting, your focus a little bit more because a lot of people say like get up first thing in the morning and write down 3 things you're grateful for or 5 things, whatever. But something that I like to do is do actually at the end of the day before you go to bed, because then you have to throughout the day pay attention to, oh, this is something I'm going to write in my journal. Like, oh, I'm grateful for that. And like, oh, that was really nice. And like, oh, this cup of coffee was just like the perfectly made. And like, just these little things. It starts shifting you into appreciating more and looking for that gratitude, because depending on what it is you're looking for in life, that is what you're going to see. You are programming your brain. We have like this doorway into our mind called the reticular activating system. That is, whatever you tell your brain is important, it will show you more of that. It's like your algorithm, right? It's exactly that. So when you're always focusing on like that went wrong and that went wrong, this isn't right, and they said this, and blah, 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 that's all you're gonna see. You're gonna feel that. You're gonna see that, and you're gonna be like, so much is wrong all the time. This sucks. But as soon as you start shifting into that, starting to pay attention to what is good. Okay, yeah, that maybe wasn't the best, but what was the good out of that situation? And the more that you do that, you're literally training your brain to look for those things more. So it's perfect because, yeah, just doing that simple little thing helps to shift the mind, just that little tweak, and just more beautiful things will start happening for individuals. So I guess that's probably one of the nice little easy things that somebody could do.
Love that. Yeah, I think that's so great because that's such a small shift. Gratitude is something that pretty much everybody can get behind, but the idea of ending your day with it instead of starting your day with it, I love that. I'm totally going to implement that in my own day to day. So, my podcast and, my platform is very much about empowering women, particularly in their 20s and 30s, to be the ultimate people person. That doesn't necessarily mean that you love people. It means we know how to connect authentically, share our story, listen actively when other people are sharing their stories. Now, the three main pillars of that for me are wellness, girlhood, and authentic storytelling. But I'm curious, like, what does being a people person mean to you?
It's actually really funny that you've asked that because I've never actually really specifically thought about it, but I very easily connect with others. It's very, very uncommon that I am not able to do that with somebody, but it's kind of something that just sort of happens with me. And it's funny that you had mentioned horoscopes earlier because I'm a Libra. Okay. And we're like notoriously known for easily connecting with other people. For me, I always try to make people laugh and, in the most like genuine and loving way possible to make light of situations. And I am very blessed for all of that because it makes it very easy to do like connect with your clients as a coach.
How do you feel like, because I know you said connecting kind of comes naturally to you, how do you feel like you use that gift to build community in your business or your personal life?
Yeah. So, it's been a really interesting journey in this whole like becoming a social media person and trying to connect through that because I have never been a social media person. Like I did not have Facebook or Instagram or anything for a while. Like I fully deleted it. Like, and I wouldn't have gotten it back except I started like my tattooing business a few years ago. And so it's just silly not to have that stuff because it's free advertising, right? But I have never been a consistent poster. I have never done any of that kind of stuff. So it's been such a weird journey for me to try to learn all of that. There's so much to it.
Instantly. It literally changes every day.
It's crazy. Like I bless this. I'm working with a social media marketing manager and consultant right now, and bless her freaking soul. She's a godsend because she's telling me stuff and I'm like, I didn't know any of these things. I'm like, I'm not old yet. I'm not even, I'm only 30. And I'm like, there's all these things I didn't know. Yeah, in general, in like my community, I also teach yoga. So I teach yoga at like a studio in the local town. And the girl who owns that studio, we do like a collaboration class that she's a massage therapist. And, I guide meditations and I have crystal singing bowls. And so we do this beautiful fusion of she does like massage and yoga, like restorative yoga, and then like end it with a guided meditation. And so that's a way that we really love to connect with the community and that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's just like a few of the ways.
What is one mindset shift you wish more women in their 20s and 30s embraced?
Good question. Just trusting that you're exactly where you're supposed to be, that you are absolutely fine and you are doing great and you are further than you were before and that the universe has a plan for you, and having faith that like everything is going to work out for you. And there is no specific timeline that you need to be achieving specific things by. Everybody's on different trajectories. So just having more self-acceptance for who you are and where you're at and know that you are consciously growing. So, good on you for that and just embrace that.
I love that. Yes, the journey is just as important, if not more important than the destination. And
100%.
my personal motto is every single person in this life has a story. And you never know who you're going to impact by sharing that story. So you should always share it because it always has value. It always has meaning and it always is going to make a difference, whether or not it is communicated to you that it's making a difference. So I love that you shared that. Where can people connect with you, work with you, keep following your journey? What do you have coming up? Like, tell my audience about how we can support you and connect with you.
MORPHED dash evolution.ca. Morphevolution.ca. I'm a visual person. I'm like, yeah. So that's my website. And I also am on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook. And yeah, my tags there are Morphed Evolution is my Facebook. And I have Metamorphosis Healing Arts on TikTok and Instagram. So I have a few things in the works right now that I'm super excited for. So I have like my one-on-one coaching, of course, for people who are wanting to do that. And I have actually joined forces with Great Sunshine Marketing, who is actually located in Vancouver, so opposite side of Canada from me. And we are going to be creating a course. So it's going to be a fully digital course. She is like a force to be reckoned with when it comes to marketing, social media. Like she is the queen. And so she's like straight business side. And I'm all about finding the mindset to help you, kind of shift past your fears and be able to move into what it is you actually want for yourself. And so we're creating a course for, women who are wanting to either start or grow their small businesses. So it's kind of combining that like mindset to allow them to be able to break through the limiting beliefs that they've had about starting it or the fears that they have combined with that tangible, that action oriented. And we're bringing that together to create this like beautiful course that's going to come together. And yeah, we're working on that right now. So that's going to be, we haven't even, this is actually the first time that I've told anybody about it. So that's going to be, yeah, it's going to be so, so exciting. Yeah. So that's going to be coming up. And I am also going to be releasing a course. This will be a little bit later on. I've actually just started kind of brainstorming about this. I'm going to be creating another digital course that is all about the hermetic principles, the laws of the universe, the chakra systems, and manifestation processes, kind of all in one bundle, and how they all intertwine.
Well, you got to keep me updated on both of those courses because I'm very interested. That's so fun.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you so, so much for being with us today, Umeko. I have loved chatting with you, and I am so excited to see, what you continue to put out into the universe. And I will obviously, of course, link all of your social media and website and everything in the show notes if anybody does want to follow along with her journey. But so grateful to get to connect with you today.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Bye, everyone. We'll see you next week.